So I guess that I'll just get things going, and so I think we'll go with just like starting the around the NHL strategy. Like it's been a week now since the Babs
Mm-hmm.
firing, and
Yeah.
a lot of other things have happened. Suspensions being dished out. Some teams are continuing to be hot. Some are starting to falter. So, where should we start? Do you think
I think maybe we should start with the Bortuzzo.
the Bertuzzo
That's
hit?
it. That
Yeah,
seems to be
hot
hot
top.
topic of these days. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. When I saw it first, I saw the hit. I was like, okay, that's pretty standard. Pretty standard. Those kind of things happen. Penalty. And then he looks at the ref. You see him look over at the ref and be like, "Oh, you're calling him a penalty." Typical things. And then he shoves him again. Maybe
Yeah.
not shove. Like cross checks him in the lower spine, and it's just like it seems like this is the kind of thing the NHL is just trying to get rid of. And I'm personally surprised that the suspension is as low as it is.
I agree. I think it's awfully light as well. And like, I'm not trying to discount it in any way, but I didn't watch the game. So
Me
I
either.
don't know what the flow of the game was. And in no
Good point.
particular situation is that acceptable. However, if they were crashing Binnington the whole game and they had complained a couple times to the ref, that's kind of the vibe I got just watching the replay. Because like you said, he cross checks
Yeah.
him pretty hard, and it's like, well, that's a penalty. Then he cross checks him again. It's like, okay, well, now you get a second penalty. And then he looked over, and then he gives him that nasty third cross check, and it's like the only thing to me that makes sense there is him being like, see what we're talking about. Okay, screw you, and making his point. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
And
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
yeah, and the way you're explaining it, maybe they're crashing that. That kind of might make sense as to why Bennington like gave him the pop in the
Yeah,
face.
that's the other
Like,
point.
stay the hell away from me. Like, you've been up in my grill all night. And yeah, they're just. But now Arvidsson, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. Not a
Yep.
big surprise because Arvidsson seems to be getting an injury every year. But like obviously this is a little
But
different.
see, I have an idea when it comes to things like this.
Yeah.
I know, it'd be hard to distinguish the line, but if it's determined that somebody went out of their way or did something of a dirty nature to injure a guy, so
Uh-huh.
under this particular or specific example of Bortuzzo, he should have to sit until Arvidsson returns.
Yeah. See, they've been talking a lot about that, like on like radios, and that seems to be this particular instance seems to be this like this isn't the first time we've heard this idea before, or at least I haven't.
No.
I've heard it thrown around last year, maybe a year before, but it seems to be gaining that idea seems to be gaining a lot of momentum based on this instance.
Mm-hmm.
I the problem I see with that is that obviously there it leaves the league open to being taken advantage of in that situation. Like maybe I'm trying to think of a good example, but like maybe someone like let's just say Tom Wilson, he like takes out some fourth line guy for like a month. He's out for a month. I mean, and then then the team's like, you know what? We're facing Tom Wilson again. Maybe we'll rest him an extra 2 weeks, give him 6 weeks, and then Tom Wilson's like, he's not the best player for Washington, but he's a key part of
Yeah.
their lineup. And maybe the fourth liner is not as big a deal to the
You
team.
would have to have some sort of regulations with the
Yeah,
medical doctors and the people speak so that they couldn't do that. And
yeah,
there'd also have to be some sort of like on the flip side, let's say just for ease of explanation, again, Leafs and Boston meet in the first round again. What's stopping Boston from going out and getting Michael Haley or some guy who really is insignificant
yep,
and first game out goes and just cross checks or something Matthews into the end boards and takes him out for the series? Who cares about him sitting the
yeah,
rest of the series? Like
exactly.
at that point, it's almost like war games, right?
Do you think that soon the legal side of it might start coming? We might see like criminal charges. Like at what point? Like we saw it with
Yeah,
Bertuzzi years and years ago, but it's starting to get to the point where some of these things are really out of hand. Like just looking even in a different sport, football, a couple of Mondays ago, I don't know if you saw that, where the guy bashed the guy in the head with the helmet.
Yeah.
So just things like that. Like it's getting to a point where soon someone's going to go too far, and then we're going to be back in.
Well,
like,
let me
where's the
give you this
line?
example. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, regardless of you and I know each other, let's say we're sitting somewhere in the same room, and you're just sitting there, I don't know, reading a book or looking on your phone or whatever you're doing, mind your own business, eating food or something. I walk up behind you and I just smash you over the head with a football helmet. It's not in a football game. I'm not dressed in football attire, but I use a football helmet and I smash you in the head.
Assault with a weapon, manslaughter, whatever. Yeah.
Right? Or I walk up to you in an alley, that was a stupid word, whatever, with a hockey stick in my hand, and I come and I slash you over the leg and I break your leg. I'm going to be going to jail for, like, why is it different just because you're on the ice? And exactly what you're saying. When is this going to come into play where you could say, for example, Bortuzzo is liable, responsible for the injuries of Arvidsson?
Mm-hmm. I work in injury law. Like, that's my job for the most part. So, like, to me, it's crazy that some of these things where it's obvious they cross the line could lead to these people having punitive damages of, like, they lose income, they just go through tons of pain and suffering and just stuff like that. So I think it's only a matter of time, but I don't know how. It's going to be interesting how that gets navigated in all sports, let alone the NHL.
Yeah, and like back to what my point when I was saying if you suspended Bortuzzo the same amount of time that Arvidsson was out, the PA would never be on board with that because all suspensions are unpaid. So that means that Arvidsson would go unpaid Bortuzzo would go unpaid until Arvidsson returns. But if Bortuzzo knew that beforehand, would he have done it? I would be willing to guarantee you he would not have. That third cross-check, maybe the first two, but that third one, if he knew, I can do some damage here.
Yeah, I could be facing. Yeah.
He wouldn't have. Like, I can't go 6 weeks unpaid. Can you go 6 weeks unpaid?
No.
Can an average person go 6 weeks unpaid? No.
What do you?
So, like, we don't. I don't know.
What do you think the suspension should have been for something like this?
I don't know if he's a repeat offender or anything.
I don't think they classified him as one, even though that since the incident, there's been a ton of like things come out showing him that he kind of is a repeat offender. Like there's been highlights of this exact same thing he's done to like an Islander, and then I think there was one other team, but I don't think he was classified as repeat because I don't think
I heard about it, but I haven't seen the comparable. Or
I saw the one.
I heard
it was basically
the
same
Islander
play.
example.
Yeah, it was basically the same play. Yeah,
it was Brock Nelson, I think, right? Yep. Off the top of my head,
either him or Bailey. I always mix those two up.
Yeah, but I mean, in a couple years, will these guys even be around? These Bortuzzos or these other guys? Like even Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves is the apex of that player. I mean, you could argue Tom Wilson is, but Tom Wilson's a fucking hockey player who can do everything else.
Yeah,
Reeves is just a big, powerful guy who can make
Bortuzzo's a defenseman, right?
Yeah, Bortuzzo is.
Yeah, so I think there's a little more allowance for that kind of player to survive. I think it'll survive on defense longer than on offense.
Because you could be a shot blocking mean guy that kills penalties, and there's a role for that.
Mm-hmm. At least for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. They suspended Wilson 20 games last year. He was a repeat offender.
Again.
Pardon?
I forget what he did. I
forget exactly what he did. He hurt someone.
I remember the suspension, but
like. He was obviously a repeat offender, same kind of thing. I think it was hit to the head because he had done that a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sure it was hit to the head. But, like, I'm not saying, like, this guy should get 20 games. What do you get? He got 4, right?
Yeah, he got 4. I think he probably should have got, like, whatever the equivalent of, like, 2 weeks would be. So let's say 7 games.
Yeah, I think something like that. Like, the way I thought of this was it's very similar to what Kadri did last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kadri got the same amount of games, but playoff games. So I think that's a little.
Yeah.
But again, I guess the repeat offender.
You could argue
thing.
that Bortuzzo's was even more malicious than Kadri's.
I agree. But I think Kadri had the repeat offender thing against him.
Yes. And the whole argument of how many playoff games is the regular season worth versus regular season versus playoffs.
I would say 3-1.
Ish, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing is you have to almost set an example because every suspension has to supersede the prior suspension. So if you gave him 7 games, now Bortuzzo knows next time I do something, I'm going 3, 4 weeks. So like 10, 12, 15 games unpaid. So, I mean, for a guy like him who I don't know his contract, but off the top of my head, I'd guess it's probably somewhere around 2 or 3 million, maybe a little bit more than that. So, I mean, that a percentage of that for 10 whatever games, that's a lot of money for him. I mean, not that any ratio is different, but a guy who's just kind of scraping the barrel, it's going to damage more than a guy who knows he's going to get money.
His salary is he's $1.4 million a year.
Yeah, so
bottom of the barrel kind of thing.
If you got the 7 games, you're probably looking up giving what 250. Yeah. 220, 250. And so next time you do it, you're looking at getting $500,000, 400, 500,000 out of your pocket. And that's not even talking about if there's a fine on top of the suspension. That's just a suspension forfeitures. Like, I don't know. They got it. Then sometimes the NHL is too soft on things. And like, I like George Peros and I think he does a great job.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes maybe there's some bias with him being like, oh, I've seen worse, or like I've done worse.
Because he was that kind of player too, wasn't he?
Yeah. And like, I mean, he was more of one of those polite, mean guys. Like he was
George Laraque.
Yeah, like there's a few things I used to watch where it would be like he used to like thank guys after fights and stuff, like just next level stuff for that kind of player. I could never play that role myself, but some guys can.
Definitely.
So what do you think? What do you think Nashville's going to do? What would you do if you're Nashville here? What do you think the room allows for them to do here?
Like as a response next time they play? Well, I guess like I don't even know who on their team is capable of stepping up and beating the shit out of this guy. Like they don't
I think it has to be a whole line.
Just a line brawl?
Not necessarily a line brawl, but I think they might pick one guy and just say finish your check on him every single time. Piss him off, slash him. Like we don't care if we take penalties. Like I mean, I don't know who it would be. But
yeah, I think I'm pretty sure they had a quick turnaround and played again. They might have already played again since, to be honest.
I thought they played yesterday or something like that. But obviously neither of them would have been in the lineup. But
that's true. Nashville looks like they won in shootout too when it happened. It happened on Monday. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't follow the story. It looks like low. Yeah, but like you said, might wait until the next time because they'll meet again. They're both central.
And like everyone's going to be watching, you almost have to.
Have to wait till later, like March, April.
That was one thing my dad taught me growing up in hockey. He said that like if somebody gets the best of you, like the one particular time he told me I got on the wrong end of one of the only couple times of hits I did, and he basically said if you get up and you get pissed off and you go right after him, you're going to get a penalty. The attention's all on you. The spotlight's on you to see what your response is. Yeah. Take a number, quietly retreat, get a game plan, and then wait till he's not expecting it, and that's when you can get him back even better. And, like, don't be dirty about it. Wait until the opportunity presents itself, get him back, and now you have the upper hand.
Yeah, it looks even better if you can, like, get a clean clock on him and no penalty, just clean.
Like, I think their goal this past time they played was, let's beat them.
Yep.
The next time it will probably be, let's beat them again. And then it will be one of those, we've made the playoffs. Let's rest our guys and let's call up this 26-year-old who's never played anywhere from the East Coast League. that has 357 penalty minutes in 12 games, and he just comes up and it's like, oh, we know what's going to happen, and he's going to fight Bortuzzo 5 times in the game, and he's literally just every time he comes out of the box, fight again. You're not going to fight? Well, then I'm just going to come after you and punch you in the face until you start punching me back. Like, it'll be a time, maybe next year even, maybe in 2 years, there will be a time where they get their revenge.
Yeah, it always happens, right? But sometimes it can get you into trouble. Todd Bertuzzi, primest example of it all, right?
But, I mean, if you beat them in 3 straight playoff series over the next 3 years,
yeah, that's getting them too.
Just as good as saying it, right? I mean, it's not always about coming back and hurting a guy more than he hurt you. I mean, if you get knocked out of the playoffs 3 straight years, look at all the Leafs. Look at all the Leafs fans, the heartbreak of playing Boston, the devastation, the mental psyche problems of playing Boston. Like, I mean, Vancouver Canucks fans have that too. But
wow, playing Boston?
What's that?
They have the psyche problem of playing Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's universal amongst all fans in the whole league is everybody just hates Boston.
It's because they still play a style of game that intimidates you.
Yeah.
And you can't beat them at their own game, and they don't let you play your game. If you can play your game, they're beatable. That's why you see these teams like Ottawa and these other teams who go and you're like, oh, they're going to get slaughtered, and they still lose, but it's like a good 3-2 game in overtime or something like that. And you're like, well, why can't these more skilled teams play them? It's because they go in, they look at Chara to start, and then they look at Backus, and they look at these other guys. I mean, Pasternak and Marchand aren't big guys, but they're annoying as hell, and they get you off your game. Like, Pasternak, to me, like, obviously I'm not at ice level, but there's certain guys who I get the same vibe off Panarin who kind of piss you off just because of their work ethic and their skill, and you're just like, God damn, like, they don't stop. And then all of a sudden, like, they annoy you, and you start getting into it with them, and then they pot 2 goals, and they laugh in your face, and you're like...
Took you off your game.
Like, yeah, like, they just get you wound up, and they get you tense and tight, and it happens to everyone. I've seen some other teams play that, and, like, Montreal was so good at that for so long, but now I feel like they are slowly falling into it. Because what was that last time they played? I think they lost. Maybe not last time, but a couple times ago, I think they lost 4-5-0 or 5-1, 4-1. And then the last time before that was a pretty close game. And then they got slaughtered the game after that. What was it, 9-1, 8-1 last night?
8-1, yeah.
8-1, so... I don't know. It's tough to say what the right answer is, but I don't think the NHL got it right on this particular case.
No, I don't think so.
We also don't know what the injury is. Like, I would like to know what the injury is. Like,
that's true.
If he sprained his MCL because he was being pushed down and torqued on it, that to me has to be addressed. Where if it was, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to explain each particular example.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there could be different scenarios.
I think we can agree that we think the punishment was a little light. Probably should be a little bit heavier just to kind of stop this thing from continuing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they need to look at, like you said, a different way to address definitely when a player is hurt for as long as Arvidsson is hurt for in this situation.
And the longer the NHL continues, I don't think we're going to have a lot of these Bortuzzo guys, these Bortuzzos, these Backus, these Lucic. Over the next couple of years, they're going to be gone. But what I am more worried about is you look at the play like Kerfoot pushing the guy in Colorado the other night.
Yep.
Those are the plays that we're going to see more of, where these skilled players just have that 1 second of just mental...
Slip up, yeah.
Yeah, and they just... You know Kerfoot felt terrible. You know he knew immediately. You could tell by his body language.
Well, they used to be teammates, for sure.
But you could tell by the body language, he was just like, I deserve a punch in the face, and if anyone's going to come and punch me in the face, you get one. And the guy grabbed him, and you could tell he didn't put his hands up. He was just like, go for it. Don't do it, but go for it. And they didn't do it, and he's just like, okay, I know I'm going to be suspended, and I luckily didn't get the punch to the face. So
how many games did he get?
2.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
I thought 2 or 3 was fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely a dirty play. He's not a repeat offender. I don't think him knowing he made a mistake makes it any different, but I think that it should at least be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
Like if he stood up and kind of like gave him the finger or laughed at him or something like that, not that he probably would or anyone would, but just for example, then that I would be like, hey, extra game. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Well, unless you're whoever you are the other day who spat on, I forget who that was. Who spat on Good Branson?
Oh, what the hell's his name? I forget.
By the way, that's gross. There's nowhere in the game for that either.
Yeah.
Good Branson was being a dick too, but no one deserves a punch. Like if you're gonna fight a guy, fight a guy. If not, call him an asshole and skate away. Like
yeah, he did sucker punch the shit out of him.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't deserve a spear or a spit. But
all right, you want to go around some more teams in the NHL?
Yeah, let's go to the Canadian teams.
Some Canadian teams, okay. The Canadian team.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the list that I sent.
Yeah.
Let's stick with overall NHL for now. Let's head to the Devils.
The Devils.
What is wrong with the Devils?
They give up too many goals. From what I see. They've blown 3 4-0 leads this year. Or
yeah,
sorry, 3
something like that.
3 4-0 leads. I think. Yeah, I said that right.
Yeah.
I watched 2 of them myself. One of them, I was like, I actually had action on the other team in Florida, and I was like, oh, this is over. And then I went for a walk, come back, it's 4-2, and then sure enough, they come back 4. I just think it seems they're giving up too many goals. I think they're just too young up and down the line.
Young?
I think so. Like, what else they have a bunch of the top picks, but if you look...
But that's where I was headed. They've had a lot of good draft selections and a mass amount of draft picks other than for a year or two where they went into that long playoff run where they lost to LA in the final, I think it was. That one year they spent off some draft picks, but they haven't developed anybody.
Yeah, they're getting these top picks and they're not turning into the 80-point people. They had all
third rounders.
Yeah, that's essentially what. No one's developing into the all-star. They had that career year Hall had 2 years ago where he won the Hart Trophy, but other than that, they haven't had a player that is worth talking about.
That was a man on a mission season, though.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall's.
It really was. It was awesome.
I'm pissed I haven't been in the playoffs for 7 straight years to start my career. I'm fucking making the playoffs this year. That was that year.
It's kind of funny that when he's in Edmonton, now he's in New Jersey, he's the common denominator of maybe he doesn't have the energy or gives off the right stuff to build confidence, or I'm trying to find the word. So
what you're saying is
Taylor Hall is the problem.
Ovechkin before Alexander Ovechkin won a cup.
Yeah, before he matured and realized it's a team game, and I don't know, I have no idea.
He's never really been in the playoffs. How does he know?
Who, Hall?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't see a player making the difference that you need on a winning team. I see a bunch of young kids making mistakes a lot. They're defensive. They don't really have a strong defense.
No, and Subban's not having a good year.
Yeah, and Subban,
I had high expectations for him.
But has he ever been the kind of defensive player to have defense first? Isn't he?
No, but he's a fantasy defenseman. He's a guy
which is not what wins championships all the time.
No,
it helps. But behind him, they have Damian Severson is the only name I can really. I think
Sammy Vatanen.
Oh yeah, I forgot they traded for him.
Vatanen's basically a PK light or a poor man's PK.
I always thought of him as the poor man's Cam Fowler, which is even worse.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm watching Vegas versus Nashville here. I don't know who's in net, if it's Rene or Saros. I think it's Saros.
It is, yeah.
I love his pads.
I wanted to that was one thing on my list of things to talk about is But let's finish up with New Jersey. Like, I think they're done this season. Like, they can't. They won't be.
Oh, definitely.
No,
but it might be a blessing in disguise because they have a
be.
lot of tradable assets. They've got Wayne Simmons on an expiring deal.
They only got him
he
for
won't get a lot.
It was a 1 year deal.
I think it was a 1 year deal.
If he's on an expiring contract, it must have been.
Yeah.
No, they might have.
They could even flip PK though. They got Sammy Vatanen's expiring.
Okay, so they could. It's possible. Like they definitely have assets. Yeah, they have assets, but if they're not they haven't developed a player. I don't know. Jack Hughes is supposed to be the real deal, though, and from what I've seen, he's good, but like it's hard to tell this early. Like he hasn't been putting up the points like you would expect him to. I think his brother has more points than him.
But Vancouver's defense is really good.
That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't say really good, but they're deep.
Solid.
They're solid.
Yeah, solid deep defense for sure.
So they can kind of afford to, play Jordy Ben on the PK and then give Hughes the proper ice time on the offensive zone. If they are trying to use him on the PK and stuff, I don't know if he would be having as good of or positive of a season.
That's true. It's fair.
They're doing a better job at hiding them.
What would you think is the Devils' problem?
I don't know. I think it has something to do with their development. I just I go to a lot of Marley games and I've seen them play not Binghamton. Well, they used to be Binghamton Devils, but now they're Albany, I think. Albany Devils, Binghamton Devils. They've moved around a bunch. But the Devils farm team, regardless. I have watched them probably about 7 times, 8 times live since the Kadri days in the AHL. Mm-hmm. So maybe on average once a year, twice a year. So I've seen some of their kids, and when I watch them play, I'm not sure if this is a pro or a con, but every time they play, it seems to be new guys making names. So one time I'll watch them and be like, oh, this guy's pretty impressive. Who's this guy? And I'll go and do a little research on him. I'll be like, oh, this guy looks like a nice little asset. Looks like he might be like a future 3rd or 4th liner, who can contribute a little bit. And then I'll see him play a little bit later, and I'll be like, this guy, I haven't seen anything out of him, but who's this guy over here? And then I learn about somebody else. So, that could be a pro, meaning that they've got guys in their system that can make an impact on any given night. I've just seen different nights where they're making impacts. Or it's a bad thing where they don't have anything special. And
no consistency, no nothing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know which one it is, but I think it has something to do with that because, Hughes and Hirscher should be self-developed enough with their skill where they can still turn into solid NHL players with no development. Mm-hmm. So I think not that you can't fail with them, but I think it's a lot more difficult to not get something out of them. Mm-hmm. But will they reach that apex they can be? Hughes, I'd be a lot more confident in saying so. Hirscher, not sure.
Not sure. I get reminiscence of Buffalo when I look at them. They got these, it's kind of like Buffalo a few years ago when they just got Eichel kind of thing. They had these kind of guys that they've been drafting bottom of the league for a little bit. They're picking up Nylander, Reinhart, all those along the way who are supposed to be game changers at least a little bit in the league, and they just never seem to get it going.
Solid, but nothing special.
Yeah, and it seems again, going with Buffalo, it's kind of similar. It doesn't seem like New Jersey's getting the goaltending either to help them. Schneider's pretty much done with the league, it looks like. So they're riding Blackwood, and things are bad when you're signing Louis Domingue as your backup. It's usually a sign that you're not going in the right direction. It wasn't a sign,
it was a trade.
Yeah.
They traded 7th for him, yeah.
I forgot.
Because there's a lot of talk here in Toronto because of the backup goalie situation. Louis Domingue was the guy that everyone apparently wanted. That was the name that was always used in the example. And me personally, I was terrible example. He sucks. He is not that he sucks, but there's a lot of other goalies that are also available that fit the exact same category he does.
It wouldn't cost as much.
Exactly. If you're going to go out and get an improvement, you don't go out to just improve by a penny. if you're going to spend an asset, you got to actually improve by a margin of improvement where it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think going from 700,000 for Hutchison or 750, I forget exactly what it was, to 1.2 for Domingue. To me, I'd rather have the 700,000 and wait for a goalie to pop up later that I can get at the trade deadline. So I wasn't super stoked about that deal, but I don't know. I've been told that Schneider's hip is just done.
So
yeah,
makes sense. Like it kind of ever since he's really injured that a couple of years ago, he's never been the same.
Mm-hmm.
That trade is looking great for the Canucks nowadays. It
definitely is, yeah. And I mean, through two degrees of separation from an NHL player, he said, well, I guess he's in the AHL right now, but a fringe AHL NHL player who would be familiar with the situation. Mm-hmm. He was the one who was saying that Schneider's hip was just not good enough to hold up to the NHL level, and that he said he was done, and that was a year and a half ago before he came back and didn't get a win last season and then struggled this season.
Did he ever get his win this year? He must have.
Yeah, I think he got 1 or 2 or maybe 3. He got a couple.
Okay.
But I feel bad for him. I mean, he went from being like a top NHL goalie to just nothing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate how injuries can do that to some people.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind going from there. I'm kind of looking at the standings, but a bit of a transition over to Ottawa and Bobby Ryan.
Okay.
What do you think? What's your take on Bobby Ryan and entering the Players Program?
I guess it's my. I don't really have much of a take. I guess it seems like must be a good thing. He must need it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Has it? I don't think.
And it's good that it's there.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I don't know if it's there for other leagues, this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We don't know exactly what it's for unless that came out since I remember it happening.
I don't think we ever will really know the true details unless he himself tells us.
Yeah.
But, like, you know the story about him, right? Bobby Ryan?
I feel like if you say it, I would not remember, but I don't. I couldn't tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't off the top of my head because I don't know all the details. But long story short, one of his parents, I think it was his dad, was not so lawfully wonderful.
Okay, and that's what that was in my head, so it must be somewhat ring of truth.
Yeah, and
disclaimer.
He was on the run with his mom, I believe, and hiding from his dad or something, which is why he changed his name to Bobby Ryan. And I feel like he's the type of guy, I'm not trying to sound negative in any sense. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is he's the type of guy like Theoren Fleury, where I would read your book. I would like to know your story because I bet you it's difficult. I bet you there's a story in there that could help somebody else conquer a problem that they're going through.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bobby Ryan, his NHL career could potentially be coming to a close, but he could be very important in a bigger capacity of showing that there is sometimes an option for people to go from, I'm an NHL player, but maybe I'm not happy doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe I need change. Like, I'm speculating here, but
of course,
the guy is a bit overpaid. He has been playing in a city that doesn't really care that much. He's been slowly falling down the roster. If I was in his shoes, I would probably start getting depressed, being like, okay, well, nobody wants to trade for me. I'm overpaid, so, like, the only other place other than Ottawa I'm going to be playing is in the AHL. I don't want to go there. Like, nobody believes in me anymore. I'm not going to be playing with better forwards. Like, where am I going to get my traction? Where am I going to start feeling good about myself? Where, like, I think he's got 3 years left at 6.25. So, like, I was saying to my one friend today, I was like, I wonder if the NHL would consider a mutual termination of his contract at the end of the year and allow him to go somewhere else on a $700,000 deal play with some different people, and maybe have a chance to revive his career. Because potentially, if not, he may have played his last game.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
why would anyone walk away from 12 mil?
I'm not saying he would. He could potentially stay in the players program for 3 years.
Okay.
There's nothing saying he couldn't.
I don't
think.
Do you know? Is it just like it's kind of like the way I picture it is like he goes to like a rehab facility, but I have no idea what really it is. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's probably something that you would see or compare to a rehab facility. It's probably somewhere that's out of the busy area. It's probably somewhere where there's one-to-one assistance to people, or like positivity people to whatever, just support. Like he's probably away from family, probably doesn't have a cell phone, or he's probably not watching hockey games. Like he's probably just
resetting
trying to, which he needs. I mean, I have always had a soft spot for the guy. I've always loved how he plays. Like, I feel like the couple years where the NHL had those mutual buyout or like the cap compliance buyouts, I feel the NHL should add one every year, because not every team will use them, and some teams like Toronto will, and if they don't, they'll go out and they'll get assets for doing it. But even if they do, who cares? Let them have the assets, them and the Rangers and Montreal, whatever. Let them have it, because what it does save is these guys like Bobby Ryan, or these other guys off my head, potentially maybe Lucic in the year two, Seabrook
Louis
in
Eriksson.
the year two, Louis Eriksson, where like they'll literally just fall off the face of the earth. Or Marian Hossa, he has a skin condition. I actually think he does have a skin condition, but like there's going to be more and more of these funny, weird, like, is he really, done? Is he actually really done, or is he just lying? Like, I don't know. I think that if you had these compliance buyouts, even if it saves 3 or 4 guys to go and have, because like if you get bought out by the Leafs, you can't re-sign in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Until there's some rules towards that. So like, yes, you get the asset for doing it, but you couldn't like, trade us Brent Seabrook, then we get a pick for that, we buy him out, and then we give him $700,000 to return as our 7th defenseman. Like that wouldn't be something that would be acceptable to me within the league.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that if you had something like that where teams pay the guys their money, they walk away, now they have money in their pocket, so they don't need a big contract. They can go somewhere and sign for $700,000 for 1 or 2 years. Maybe it's their home team. Maybe it's a team with some buddies on it. Maybe it's somewhere where they had a good past. Who knows, right?
Okay, yeah, I can see that working.
I think that it just could be an easy win
for everybody.
And to also help humans beyond the sport at the time have better opportunities. Like good employers these days will always help their employees advance, right?
Yep.
Even if it's not internal. If you have to go external, it sucks, but they're still willing to help you or want to see you succeed if they're a good employer, right? So you might as well see that for your athletes because you are their employer. So
yeah, and you're setting an example. Like you're on the stage in front of the world with some of the decisions you make and some of the initiatives you can take. You're in center stage, so you can really set an example for the rest of the world on how to treat humans, like you said. Like,
so what you're saying is not treat somebody like Akim Aliu.
Exactly.
And Bill Peters. See, I've been saying this a while, and like, it's an old man's club.
It's dying slowly. It seems to be. It's seeming that I think this is the beginning of the change of the guard, being led by Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if this is a politically correct statement to make or not, but beyond the old man's club, it's the old white man's club. So it's just kind of like these stories, like hazing is a big thing in hockey.
Yeah.
I myself have fortunately never been put in a situation where I've had to do any hazing incidents that are uncomfortable. I've definitely been hazed, but like simple shit that's not, mentally scarring in any capacity. It's more of something you look back and laugh at that you did, right? But some people were definitely put in situations and have gone through scarring experiences. The case in point probably the most is Theoren Fleury.
Exactly. I was going to say him for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's a lot of examples. Those examples would be best to go back into the 80s and 90s to look at. But, like, growing up, I think we were just a little young for this, but there was a lot of stories that I heard of stuff that went on and people who told me stuff that their teams did for hazing, and I was just like, you couldn't imagine being put in a situation like that. And like, if you're a 15-year-old coming to a team and you're just trying to fit in and do your part, like, you're not also thinking of everything else as well. The old guys take advantage of you, and you're just trying to make the next step. You just think it's something you have to do, so you do it. Where now, fast forward to 2019, there's a lot of things that are way away from acceptable that are just coming to the surface now. And like this Bill Peters thing, what was it, 10 years ago this happened?
Something like that. I hadn't even heard of the guy that was involved.
He was a big prospect at the time.
Okay, yeah. I kind of took a break from hockey probably around that time, so no surprise I don't know who he was. It feels.
I'm also a big prospect guy, so my radar for prospects is quite large. So yeah, maybe that's why.
that might help a little bit for you, yeah, for sure. It's definitely the NHL Me Too movement going on in these past couple days. It feels like.
Yeah, definitely. And like it's about fucking time. Like, athletics should not supersede legal issues, which we referred to earlier, with like legal ramifications for injuries and being liable for shit. And then you move to this. It's the same thing.
Yeah, sexual assault, whatever, you name it.
Yeah. Even mental harassment, just physical. Sorry, sleepy.
Mind fucking.
Yes, like, it's just, yeah.
No, it's
not good. Not good look on the NHL. Like, you know what? Get it all out now. Get it all out. If the tap's already been turned on, don't try and turn it off and hide it and pretend nothing's happening, or try to just put a curtain in front of it and pretend nothing happened. Like, open it up. Open up the line of communication. Set the precedent. Be like, yes, we're the NHL. We have a long history of being terrible people. But
it's more like
we're acknowledging that, and we're moving forward.
Everything that happens in the locker room off the ice, is kind of kept under wraps. Like, it's about a month ago when the Athletic came out with that article about how rapid cocaine use was in the NHL. It's just one of those things that it's always happening, but no one's talking about it until one person talks about it, and then it's just a snowball.
But there's also no testing for cocaine in the NHL.
Yeah, because half the league would be suspended.
Exactly. So then you have to ask yourself, as the NHL, do we as a league want our players to be abusing a substance such as cocaine? If the answer is yes, then you do nothing. Mm-hmm. If the answer is no, then you must do something. It's as simple as that. You can't hide it. You can't run away from it. It will come out eventually. And when it does come out eventually and you did nothing about it, like, for example, did you hear about the whole Ron Francis connection with Bill Peters?
No.
So a couple of years ago, did you remember Ron Francis stepped down because there was this incident that no one knew what happened?
I remember that. In Carolina, right?
Yep.
Yep, I remember.
So what happened is this came up, or some incidents came up with Bill Peters, and he made players feel uncomfortable, and he apparently, while he was on the bench with his shoe, kicked one of the players in the back, like in the spine.
Okay, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they apparently, as players, went to Ron Francis and brought it up to him, and he did nothing. He refused to do anything about it. So that's why they basically said, well, If you're not willing to step up and do something, then you're deeming it to be acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're deeming it to be acceptable, then you either are going to get canned or you need to step away.
Okay, I didn't know that those two incidents were linked.
Yeah, that's what I've read today anyways. I mean, I don't know firsthand knowledge, but
of course,
that's what I've read.
Most of the stuff we're going to be talking about is secondhand information, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Game of telephone, we're going to get some shit wrong, but...
Yeah. Having the conversation is what's important. And that's what's most important about this right now is, like, I mean, I'm a big believer in the opening of mental health. Like, everybody has issues. Everybody has things that they should talk about.
Yep.
And when it comes to NHL players with the cocaine use and these other things, like, maybe Bobby Ryan is setting the precedent and really doing something big here.
Yeah, he can be setting. There could be that player in the AHL or like coming up in the league, 15 now, that in like 5-10 years, because Bobby Ryan did this now, he'll feel more comfortable doing it himself. Like he's just being that role model that some
it's
little
the stigma.
Kid might, yeah, exactly. It's a good word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the stigma of it all, and that's the problem of everything. And like that's some of the good stuff that's going on in society right now. And like back to a point you said earlier, like in the room is a sacred thing.
Yep.
Like what happens in the room is sacred, and I don't think that should ever change. But it should also be a safe, sacred place. It shouldn't be a place where, you know, something happened to you and you can't tell anybody for years, and you just have to sit on it and feel terrible about yourself because it happened in the room. Or like if people are using inappropriate language and derogatory terms because it's sacred in the room, nobody talks about it. It's not acceptable just because of that. So it's good to be having these conversations to set that precedent.
Yep. To
not only be like anybody moving forward, it's a problem, and anybody who's done it in the past, like you got to be careful, not be careful, but like you got to be mindful that this could potentially come up and really put a black mark on you and ruin your reputation.
Bill Peters, is he done?
Yes. Like it sucks for him because it's something that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like how, unless you know him as a human being, both then and now, you can't really comment on if he still feels that way.
Yeah, and maybe this kind of thing is still happening. And if it was still like maybe not to the extent, but if it was still happening even a little bit, or some things come out, I know I think he's only like on a leave right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure they're doing some investigation, or if anything's happening now. If anything comes out that happened now, he's definitely done. I just don't see, even if they don't want him to be done, how he could come back and have the respect of his room and be able to coach with all these distractions. Like I just don't see how it's possible. Let alone
he's done in Calgary for sure.
Yeah, let alone Calgary's struggling like crazy right now. So I
they
just
need a new voice.
Yeah, I don't know how. That's what I meant when I asked you if he was done. Like, is he done in Calgary?
Yeah. I think he's done. Like I the only way he has a chance at a future in hockey is if he comes out and makes some sort of statement that's acceptable in terms of owning apology. It. He's got to own it. Yeah. He's got to say he did it. He's got to say it was wrong, and that he has a long way to prove that he doesn't stand behind those beliefs anymore, and that was a mistake that ended there. Like, for all we know, he did it, and that's the last time he ever used that word and was like, I messed up so bad. We've all had those moments where you do something and you're like, I'll never get back to that moment again. Like, not even to just control, but like you get to a moment and you do something and you're like, mental note, I'll never even get to that 9 so that 10 reaction happens again, and we're fine. You know what I mean? So maybe for his sake, just to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he did do it and he comes out and said, I made the biggest mistake. I got to own it. I did it. And then he goes and works for the NHL offices to try and like save face and like goes in front of the public and works for the community and like does some stuff like that. It's the only way he has a chance in hell with the NHL moving forward in any capacity.
This couldn't have come at a better time for Babcock, though. It's kind of like everyone was like all over his ass about, because it kind of with the Mitch Marner thing, and then this came out like 2 days later, and everyone's kind of forgot about it.
I didn't think the Babcock thing was the worst in the world. I didn't think it was cool at all, but I didn't think it was like.
I thought it was fine up until
the
he
most
quote
malicious.
unquote, yeah, up until he quote unquote shared the list. That's I think where.
But even that, what does that mean? Did he share the entire list and rank them of all top to bottom?
Did he say, I think he just went to the worst players on the team and been like, hey, one of your teammates, they think you're the worst work ethic on the entire team, and then
I know one was Naz.
No, it was, yeah, it definitely was Naz, yeah.
Yeah. But like if he said, hey Naz, fucking like if Bab said like Naz, get your game going. We've asked some of the players and there's guys in here who say you're the least hardworking guy. If it was that, I still don't think it's right.
It's not. Yeah,
it's not a tactic I would use, but I still think it's within.
It's not.
Book of possible tactics.
That's the thing. Like everyone was blowing up about it, and then we're like, "Wait a second, Bill Peters thing? Now that's a little too far."
Yeah,
it's a little bit. So,
but it's funny. Like this is a random thought. I mean, I don't really want to take it anywhere, but like with Justin Trudeau doing blackface, really, what's the difference of somebody who's running a country doing blackface 10 years ago versus somebody who called somebody an inappropriate term 10 years ago? They're both just as unacceptable. They're both directed at the same group of people, more or less. So it's like, what's really the difference? And in comparing real life reality versus sports life that we were kind of referring to earlier, it just kind of came across my head and was like, nothing really happened to
I would say there is one pretty glaring difference that makes, like, Trudeau did the blackface. His intention wasn't to insult the race, whereas Bill Peters used I don't know exactly word for word what he said, but I'm assuming he used the word in a derogatory, blah, 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 whatever way. I can't say the word, but I wanted to sound smart. But
it started with N and finished with some other letters.
No, I meant the derogatory or the D word.
Derogatory?
Yeah, that's the word I'm going for. So he used it in that way. So I think that's what makes it different from that, and why the reaction should be different.
And it was very insulting because he said, turn that stuff off.
Yeah.
And that's not,
not acceptable.
No.
But yeah. Do we want to keep going on the NHL here and just like take a quick look at the standings, maybe, and just
let's do a quick standings breakdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up.
Look at the wild card in the West to start.
Wild card in the West. Okay. Oh, I think this is gonna be straight up interesting.
Who's out? Who do we think's out?
Like completely out?
So
LA, we can agree on. I think we can agree on Minnesota, even though they're turning it around somewhat. Their expected goals differential has been steadily increasing compared to most. I still think they're out. I think the Ducks are toast. I think they're not good enough. They weren't good enough to contend at the beginning. They had a hot start, but it's cooled off.
Plus Getzlaf's having like an unreal season.
He is, yes. And I don't know, Gibson started off like I just don't think they have the team. So I
like what they have in their layout. Like they're a younger team and they've got some nice pieces coming, but they're just not there. It's not their year. They're just they don't have it.
Well, I think the Pacific is going to be one. I think the Pacific gets 5 teams in. So
You think so?
I do, yeah. Like,
It's interesting to see. So, I mean, what do you think? Chicago's out? You think they can make a run?
I think they can make a run, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that they've been on a run as it is right now. Kane has been on a 13. It might be 14 games now point streak. So he's been single-handedly kind of carrying them, along with some pretty spectacular goaltending they've had. Like they even had Corey Crawford step up yesterday with a shutout.
Yeah. Yeah, they have been having a spectacular.
So I might be wrong. It might go 4-4, but I don't think. I think for sure you're going to see 4 out of the Pacific, maybe 5. Nashville. This is where I think gets interesting because they can put up the goals, but they can't seem to be stopping anything lately. Where do you think we're starting to hit that borderline wild card spot now? What do you think?
I mean, Rene has not been playing well, and Saros has had a couple good years of magical stats. He's been really valuable for them. I thought they should have moved on from him this past season.
From
Saros?
Thought
they could have. Yeah.
I always thought he was their takeover plan. Like he was going to eventually replace Rene. No?
Not in my mind.
Who's going to replace Rene? He's got to be almost done.
Yeah, Rene is 37 going on 38, so he's got a year left being the guy there.
Yeah.
I don't think Saros is anything different than Antti Ranta, than
you hating on my Coyote goalies, man.
Then Cam Talbot. I think they're all similar category goalies.
Interesting. I always thought that the whole plan for Nashville was to use Saros as the takeover, and it's actually unexpected that it hasn't happened already.
That's probably why.
Maybe. Well, it's also been Rene.
It's not unexpected to me.
All right. Well, that'll be an interesting one to follow along then. Then we get to the Bill Peters Calgary Flames. They're in the hunt.
They could be the Western version of the Leafs, where they make a coaching change and they kind of just get back in the groove that they were back in last year. Mm-hmm. But they still have a lot of teams.
They have 6 Pacific teams to hop, or no, 5.
Yeah, I always forget the division when I look at it in the wild cards standings.
It's my home division, so I got my ear to the beat on that one. I don't know. I see all five of those teams that are ahead of them right now in the Pacific. I could see staying ahead of them.
No.
No, you're wrong. Okay.
I think that San Jose will still win the division.
Win the division.
Yep.
Oh, hot take.
I think Vegas will finish second. I think Edmonton will finish third. And I think Calgary will win a wild card spot, which pushes Arizona and Vancouver out of the playoffs.
Wrong. No way. Arizona not missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one team that is questionable is the Canucks for sure. But the analytics of the Canucks is very favorable in the expected goals and wins over opponents and stuff like that. They're up there. I follow moneypuck.com. There's my shout out to them. They have last I looked, the Canucks were in the top 10 of their power rankings on analytic. They just strictly based off expected saves and blah blah blah, all these analytics. So they're top 10. Canucks, they blew it tonight. Let me tell you. I don't know if you saw the final score of that one.
8-6, right?
Yeah, they were up 6-3 with about 12 minutes left in the game, and they lose.
Malkin had a big night, I think.
5 points.
Yeah,
that's your boy. And my boy. We share that boy. I could see, like you said, the Sharks. I could see them winning the division. They are 9-1 in their last 10, which I wouldn't have been able to.
They had nothing going for them to start. Nothing, yeah. So it's... If they're only... Edmonton is off to start a little pretty good. But they are walking a thin line. Like, they are one injury or one something away from
disaster,
plummeting down the standings. Yeah,
totally.
Like, I still don't think that Mike Smith is gonna be as filled with energy come the end of the season as he is now, which means you're now going to be relying on Koskinen 2 out of every 3 games instead of 1.5.
Yeah,
like a true split. Which I don't dislike Koskinen, but he's in that same category. So you would rather have Koskinen
over Saros, is what you're saying?
If I put Koskinen in Saros's position, Koskinen would have better statistics, and yes, I would take him over Saros.
Okay.
In Edmonton, would I take Saros over Koskinen under the same contract? Probably. So is that contradictory? Yes, a little bit.
Just a lot of it.
But basically, what I'm saying is I think Koskinen, if he was a backup behind Rinne, is a hell of a backup. But Saros as a starter with Mike Smith in Edmonton, it's kind of like Buffalo to me, with a Hutton Allmark. It's not terrible. It's not Columbus, but
yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I don't believe in Columbus's goalies at all.
Yeah, you're not alone on that one.
I like their names. Yeah. They're cool.
We'll get to them when we say, they're not making it and skip over them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have interesting views on the Pacific, and I'm going to tell you, I don't agree with them at all. I think Calgary...
I don't watch a lot, but...
Calgary, they need a lot of help. Their goal differential is -16 for a reason.
See, I feel like a lot of my takes are based off of, like, I don't...
Yeah, you don't see the games.
I ignore... I really don't base judgments off standings, which is kind of a dumb statement to say. But basically the way that I look at things is if every possible team had the best season they could have here on out, if everything clicked for them, what could happen? So if you're looking at this, for example, let's take Arizona. To me, the best thing that could happen to Arizona is their goaltender to be really solid or continue to be really solid. Yeah. Oliver Ekman-Larsson to get going and start scoring like he maybe used to, or at least closer to that.
He scored tonight.
And then, and then for them to go out and get another forward that can contribute in the top 6 or in the top 9. Like, if they were to do that and other teams were to be average or more teams were to be average than be their apex, sure, they can be a playoff team. If you go down and look at Calgary now, Gaudreau's been shit. Rittich has been hot, cold. They can't keep the puck behind their net. They now got this circus going on with Bill Peters.
That's why.
Do I think that they could rattle off 10 straight? Not 10 straight, but like 8 to 10? Yeah, I do. So, I mean, if we talk in 2 weeks and they've won 7 of 10 and Arizona's lost 7 of 10,
then
it could be a completely different thing. And I'm not saying that that's what I think is going to happen, but I just look at it in the sense of, like, Vegas is a good team. If they have the finish here on out that they could, Fleury goes on a run, whatever, they get their magic back, they could be better. I think their apex is better than Vancouver's apex, for example, this season.
Yep.
So, like, if everyone has their apex season in the same season, then the apex of what Calgary could have here on out versus Vancouver or Arizona, I think, is a much higher apex. And they're what, 26? They're 2 to 5 points back, but they have played 2 extra games. So they're 7, let's say 6-7 points back.
Not even that.
So is their apex 6 or 7 games better than the other team's apex? I would say it's probably in and around there. So on an equal level, I think they're at the same bar. So let's see what happens. I don't think the odds are. I don't think one of them has a better odds. I just look at it that way. That's why I look at it a little bit differently.
Okay, so if you have them taking that one wild card, where do you chalk the other wild card to? Are you giving it to a Central team?
I want to jump over the Central real quick here. So, like, I like St. Louis.
Yeah.
I like Dallas.
Yep.
Colorado's going to be better because they're missing half their team right now.
Yeah, and they just got their goalie back too.
Yeah, so they'll move up and they'll push Winnipeg down.
I think those three are pretty stamped for the top three.
I agree. Yeah.
Which
and
will
then
be
you're
like,
looking at what's that? Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's gonna be like the first time in a long time that Nashville kind of drops, which I think they miss.
Yeah, I had them in just because it's hard to see them missing, but as of right now,
looks like
I'm starting to get a bit worried for them just because there's a bunch of other teams having some solid seasons.
Yep.
But like we've seen it every year. There's always a team that plays amazing till game 55 and then they lose 8 straight and you never hear from them again. There's always one of those teams.
Yeah, that's gonna be Winnipeg. No, I'm just joking.
It might be. I was very sour on Hellebuck this year just because I thought their defense was garbage. And like if you look at them, if you look at the wild card in the West right now, out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, top 12 teams, there's only 3 that have a negative goal differential. And the other 2 are Calgary and San Jose.
Yeah.
2 teams who have struggled to keep the puck out of their net, who are arguably way better than what their records and what their statistics show. Yeah. Winnipeg, you could argue, is where they should be at.
Yep, definitely. Okay.
Unless Bufflin comes back. If Bufflin comes back, then that changes that whole game.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not, and I don't think he'd be the stud impact that he could potentially be.
No.
But I do think that he wouldn't make it worse.
That's fair. All right, let's move on to the East.
Okay. Well, let's finish off the wild card. Your answer there.
Yeah.
So
your answer.
In the Central, I have Colorado winning it. I have Dallas number 2, and I have St. Louis number 3. In the Pacific, I'll take. Oops, hold on one second.
You already gave me your Pacific. You said Sharks, Knights.
Yeah.
Edmonton.
Sharks, Knights, Edmonton, which would leave
Calgary and someone.
I'll go with Calgary and Nashville as my last 2.
Great, you're crazy. All right, I'm gonna go this. I'm gonna agree on the Central. I'm gonna say Dallas, St. Louis, Colorado. And then I'm going to say Chicago is going to take a wild card spot. And then Pacific, I'll take... Oh, this is tough. I want to say Vegas, but I just don't think they're going to have the goaltending to do it. So I'm actually going to stick with Edmonton. Edmonton to win the division. Then Vegas, Sharks, and then Coyotes.
Of course, you would take the Coyotes in there.
I'm biased. They're my team of the year.
Magical team.
I always just find one underdog team that I root for all year, and that was it.
That's them. Yeah. All right, let's head to the East then.
Yep. Cool beans.
All right, so wild card in the East. Starting in the Metro, we currently got Washington at the top. I think that's going to stay.
Yep.
And then we have a 4-point spread with only 2 games difference between Philly, Pittsburgh, Carolina, and the Islanders. I don't think the Islanders.
Yeah, I don't think they're for real.
The magic will end.
It has to, right?
It will. Maybe not this year. Maybe they make the playoffs again, but this magic will end, and they will slide back to being the insignificant
Islanders that we've come to love.
They've been for my entire lifetime. So that's all I can speak about because I've seen 30 years of nothing from them. So
no, I'm with you on that one. Biggest thing I remember the Islanders pulled off was that shootout win against the Leafs to knock the Leafs out of the playoff like 10 years ago or however long.
That was when they acquired Ryan Smith, right?
I believe
Dougie Waite and Ryan Smith, and I think they had Rick DiPietro in that year.
Yes, they did.
I think.
Yes, they did. Okay, so I'm with you. Islanders not making it. Do you think Carolina pushes up to second? Where do you think?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I had Philly as number 2. I had Washington and Philly.
I still like Philly to be number 2.
I do too. So I'll go with Philly going up there. And I didn't like Pittsburgh as much.
Me either.
It depends on what day you ask me, because some days I'd be like, you know what? I think they could be sneaky. Plus, you have two really good players, so you can kind of carry it. But if you're looking at the standings now, I mean,
dude, they're
right in it, and they haven't got Crosby back yet.
Exactly.
So
I started the season being like, no, this is the year they're gonna step back, they're gonna fall out. But I've changed my opinion on them. I think they're
there to take it.
Exactly. Me too.
They're within striking distance, so I'm gonna say them in the 3 spot.
Yep. We're in agreement, 1 through 3.
And then the Atlantic, I don't think it's even a question. Boston's the top team there. They'll win the Presidents, I think, this year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I would say they'll probably win the Presidents. Maybe Washington. Maybe. But probably Boston. And then Florida, Montreal, Tampa, Toronto right there. Tampa's going to go on a run here.
Yeah. I'm totally on board about that.
So they'll go 2, which means I think I'm going to go off the board here and say Toronto does not get in as the 3 spot.
They get a wild card and play Boston. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, maybe not Boston, but I do think that they could potentially play Washington.
Yeah.
Depending. I do think that they end up with a wild card spot. I think that it's Toronto and Carolina, I think.
Okay.
Toronto. I'm really having a hard time not saying Florida, because there's just something about them that really is basically telling me, like, don't ignore me. So, like,
they're so weird. Florida's such a weird team.
Yeah, but they also can go out at the deadline and get some stuff. They've got some nice assets.
Fair enough.
If they want to, they could go out and get Taylor Hall and get something else, which that would be a statement. Like, imagine bringing him in, going to the second round or something, and being like, maybe it's not so bad being here, and signing him there. That would be massive for the Panthers. That would be one of the biggest things for them in a long time, probably since Bure went there. Like, that would be so big for them. So, I mean, I don't think that's out of the equation. Like, if they wanted to do it, they could make it happen. They could start with a first and no and tip it, and they could make it happen. Okay. And I think New Jersey would take that. But I would say that one of Florida or Carolina will be disappointed.
Yeah.
And the other one will. I'll say Florida gets the first wild card. Toronto gets the first wild card, plays Washington. Florida gets the second wild card, plays Boston.
Who gets the third spot in the Atlantic? The Habs?
Third spot would be I guess I missed a spot there, eh?
Yeah. A.
So Tampa. So Tampa, Florida. Boston, Tampa, Florida is my Atlantic.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty much where I'm at too.
Then Toronto would still be first wild card, so they'd play Washington.
I think we have the exact same Eastern Conference prediction right now.
So I guess Carolina would be 8.
I gotta admit, I'm gonna feel bad for those Sabres fans.
I know. Something wanted me to say the Sabres, but I'm gonna go 9th place for the Sabres within 3 points of Carolina. Yeah. And I think the Islanders will be 1 point back of Buffalo, and then there'll be a little gap between the rest of the groups.
Sounds good. I'll get on board with that.
We're going to have to go back and keep track of our predictions and see how accurate we are.
Fuck yeah, that's why we record this shit. Only strictly for the predictions.
Exactly.
And the hot takes. I'm not forgetting that one hot take you had of the Sharks winning the division.
I don't think it's that hot. It's a little toasty.
It's a little hot. It's a little hot.
I don't think anyone's getting any burns from it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, do you want to talk Leafs or Klefbombs?
Let's do a little quick Leafs talk.
We'll just hit a little bit on the Leafs.
A little bit on the Leafs.
It was what we wrapped our last pod up. We did some predictions. You called the Leafs going 0-3 by tonight. They did the flip opposite. They're 3-0.
If you go back, though, unless you edit it out, there is a disclaimer.
I didn't edit it. No.
You have the disclaimer, right?
I don't remember it, no. What was
My
it?
disclaimer was, here are all my predictions. But
Oh, yeah, I
it's
remember.
the Leafs, so I'm probably wrong on all of them, and they'll go 5-0.
Yeah, I remember that now. So, yeah. So here we are. They're just coming off that 6-0 win tonight.
That was big.
It was big. Big win.
Because I also said in our group chat as well that if this team is truly a different team, they would come out and kick the shit out of Detroit and not lose to them 3-2 or some stupid number.
There's a statement. It was definitely a big statement game.
Was it 54 shots? 55 shots?
I didn't see the shots.
It was 50 plus. Last time I saw it was 52, 53. I think they got a couple more.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take it.
Which their franchise record. I could be wrong on this. I can't remember the exact stat that came up, but I thought it said franchise record was 52.
54 shots.
54.
26.
Which is huge.
26 in the second period.
Yeah. Which is more than Detroit had in the game.
It is, yes.
Like, they dominated. I don't think
I didn't watch the game.
right?
No, I didn't have a chance.
They dominated. Like,
good.
It was the game they needed. And, like, I'm quite confident that Keefe said, like, look, guys, like, I don't really care. And not to keep running the score up, but, like, keep working hard. And, like, if it means taking shots from the outside, take your shots from the outside. Don't, like, get inside and make them look bad. But, like, don't get cocky here. Don't think you are better than you are here because we're playing a weaker team and then come out on Friday and
Friday's a big game for them.
It is massive.
Big game.
And I think that they're going to do something different with the goaltending. I think that they're going to play Hutchison on the Friday at the 4:00 game.
See, that was gonna be one of the points I wanted to hit with you is how do you think Keefe is going to approach the goalie situation? Why is it's 4:00? Oh, because it's holidays in States, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was Keefe, I would do it just to do it. I would do it just to be different because everyone in Leafland is watching. Like, that's what they want to know. What are you going to do with the goalies? That's like the number one question right now. And he can get ahead of it, do something different, and everyone will be like, oh, he's got a different philosophy. Cool, we believe in him. And it will literally be the end of it. And
even if
no one will talk about it again.
What if it doesn't? What if Hutchison gets lit up?
Okay, if it doesn't work, the conversation will be, we need a different goalie, not what the fuck are we doing playing our goalies in the same situation every single time. He can get ahead of it and be like, it's a different situation. Like, your starter playing at 4:00 instead of 7:00, maybe his routine's off. I don't know, Freddie, maybe he's more of a routine guy. Most goalies are. So it's like, right off the bat, if you're like, hey, Freddie, are you comfortable playing at 4 instead of 7? Not really. Cool. Hutchison's in. You know what I mean? Like,
so what happened with the Leafs and they got Hutchison going? You say, like, Hutchison for sure. What happened with the whole Sasky Swo or...
He got sent back down.
Yeah, but why'd they call him up if there's... What was that?
He played once, and they played like shit in front of him.
Yeah.
And I don't think that... I think at the time that they sent Hutchison down, it was a Babcock thing.
Okay.
It was Babcock probably said, I'm done with this guy. He is not going in my net. So, like, make a move. I don't care who the other guy is, whether he's a kid, whether he's a vet, whether he's whatever, get him up here. And I think that at the time, they weren't going to be like, okay, now we fired him, we're going to send him back down. Because I think that would have looked bad. And then it looked even worse when they came out and laid an egg in front of him and he got shelled. And then when they fired Babcock, I think they didn't want to make it look bad and make him look like the scapegoat and send him back down to be like, oh, he's not ready yet. Because I think he is borderline to show what he has. I don't think he is an NHL goalie, but I think the door is ready for him to get an opportunity to show what he has. I could be wrong. Who knows? But Hutchison then went down and had 3 solid games with the Marlies.
Oh, okay. That explains it. I didn't know that happened.
I think it was just kind of, okay, Keefe's here. Hutchison played really well. We know Hutchison is the better option right now than Kaskasuo, so let's get him back up. It's a couple days later. It doesn't look like it was all because of Babcock. Let's start fresh. I think he's going to start on Friday. get him in there. Pressure's off. Like, there's going to be a lot of fans who aren't even watching the game because they're at work, right? So, like, there's a little less pressure and stuff. So I think it's a smart thing to do. And then people will literally leave him alone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then 7 o'clock on the Saturday. So, like, just basically tell Freddie, hey, Saturday's a normal game. 7 o'clock, normal game. You're playing. Just pretend we don't even play Friday.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, it's not your game. You won't be playing unless there's an injury or something, obviously. And then Hutchison, even if he got shelled 7-0, I would keep him in the whole game and just be like, Freddie, you're not going in, and see what happens. And then, like I said, if the conversation turns to, okay, Hutchison's clearly not an NHL goalie, we need to get somebody better, sure, that's fine. We wait till a little bit closer to the deadline and we pick somebody up. But I don't know.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I don't think it could have gone any better for Keefe in his debuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Barry is 3 goals already in 3 games?
Yeah.
And just the team's been scoring. They look like they're giving up a lot less goals.
You can see they're way happier.
They're happier. Yeah.
It really shines and shows through with the players when they want to be out there and they want to be chasing guys and they want to be trying to create opportunities as opposed to being told what they have to do to continue to get out there.
Yeah.
Because, like, regardless of what you do, if we take it out of sports, if you do something and you're good at it, you get paid to do it, then somebody tells you, okay, yeah, that's fine, but now we're just going to do it different. You'd be like, well, what the fuck? Like, did I not get paid because I was good at what I did? Now you want me to do something different, like, and be better at that than what I made my name off of to begin. Like, that's why I don't know. You can tell they're all just playing their game again. They're happy. They want to be playing. Like, that's why I think this Detroit game was big, because, like, Nylander and Matthews looked great. Tavares looked great. Marner's not even in the lineup yet. Like,
this team's going to be deadly, man.
They look like they're going to be. And the thing that makes them look even more dangerous right now is that when they get the puck back, they are cycling it to their own team, even if it means that they retreat.
Yep.
Like, that's the way that I believe the game should be played. Like, if you have possession of the puck, regardless on the ice where it is, they can't score. They can't score if it's on your stick. So, like, that's one thing I used to love to do myself. Like, I used to love killing penalties because
wow.
I loved it, because, like, I always kind of felt that I thought the game at a slightly higher level than some other people. So, like, for example, so, like, there'd be times where I would go flying up the boards on a penalty kill, and guys are like, oh, he's going to dump it deep. And I slow down and wait, and, like, they already are going behind the net because they routinely think I'm just going to wrap it around. And I stop. They leave me alone. I stand there for 3-4 seconds, and then I skate all the way back to my own net again.
And then
everyone's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he going back to his net? He just skated away from his net. But by the time I skated to their blue line, waited for 4 seconds, skated back to my net, they came down, I went around, my net came back, they gave me a time, and then now I shoot it down the ice. That's 45 seconds. Like,
yeah,
or the other thing I would do,
with the unexpected. That's what. Just do the unexpected.
Yeah, or I would get the puck in their zone and skate back towards my net, and then flip it back in behind their net, and essentially just go drop to one knee and kind of push it with my knee, and, like, I would just kill 30 seconds in the corner mushing it, and it would be me versus 3 guys. I mean, you know that as soon as you're done mushing it, you got to go right to the bench because you're going to be dead tired because you're battling 3 guys. But, like, you kill 30 seconds, 35 seconds as that one man and change. Somebody else does the other thing and jumps it back down. Penalty over. I mean, I know that's ideal world and it doesn't always happen, but just there's so many times where you could kill 30 seconds on a penalty by bringing it back, as opposed to just pounding into their zone and being like, okay, here, have the puck again. Like, I'm a big believer on the way they're playing. I think that the puck possession and the fact that they're keeping everything on their sticks and off of their teammates' sticks is the utmost, the biggest difference, biggest change that we've seen so far.
Yeah, the possession numbers are definitely way up for them.
I haven't looked at them, but I assume they're way different.
They are. They're way up.
Yeah. Which I think Matthews has a lot of Datsuk in him in terms of the stick lifting and the sneakiness.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times he strips pucks off guys where you're like, oh, Matthews is out of the play. Oh, how did he get that? Like, he just has that quick ability to be like, oh, he's just a little too far away from him. Oh, no, he has the puck. And then all of a sudden that happens at the wrong spot for the other team and he snipes it short side or something. Like, that wrist shot's ridiculous of Matthews. Like, that's a weapon.
Yeah, I watched him score against Colorado. It was a pretty good snipe.
I think he has top 4, top 5 wrist shot in the game. Wrist shot release, anyways. He might not have the weight or like the heaviness behind it quite yet. That will come a bit more with his man weight. Mm-hmm. But I think that release is just, it's filthy. It's nasty. It's unfair almost.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player.
Good player. All right, let's head to Klefbombs because I'm running out of steam.
All right, Klefbombs. Other than my devastating loss last week after being up 10-0, I don't even know how I did that. But
that takes talent.
I'm up 11-0 this week, so maybe I can do it again.
It's a good lead for you. You're good with that lead.
Yeah. But, okay, so what do you want to do? You want to talk about, because there's been, I think, 2 trades, maybe 3 trades since we last talked. Oh, no, it looks like another trade just went through.
There's been a couple? What are you talking about? I think there's just 1 trade.
No, at least 3 now.
What were the last ones we didn't talk about?
Right.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So these goalies that just traded, it looks like today, I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah, let's go back to the last ones we didn't trade, or we didn't talk about first, and then go from there.
I think the first one it might be Blake Wheeler. Oh, no, that's 4 trades.
Did we talk about the Freddie for Price one? I don't think we talked about that.
No, we didn't talk about that one, but I thought there was one more before that.
There is Wheeler and Doom, but no. That was the picks that you brought up, remember, to finish the other trade that
okay, so I was thinking... Oh, that was after. Okay, so yeah, let's go to your trade first.
The Freddie one?
The Freddie Anderson for Carey Price and then a bunch of picks.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah?
I think it was one of the best trades.
It was ballsy.
I don't think so.
No? I was nervous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think Freddie...
I love Price.
Yeah, I know you do.
I don't love the Habs, but I love Price.
I know you do. Okay, so we kind of need to talk about this one with the other one because Price was like on Dylan's team for what, like a day before he flipped him?
Not even 12 hours or 13 hours, 13 and a half hours.
So you pick up Anderson. Why? How did this trade? Like, how did this go down?
I
wanted Anderson, by the way. I threw out some offers for him along the way. Yeah. Never get any bites from Dylan.
This started back in our original big monster trade for Marchand and Ben.
Yeah.
And originally, we were talking goalies, and I asked him what he wanted for Freddie, and he said, well, he didn't really want a whole lot, but he did want a goalie in return. So at the time, I had Braden Holtby, Jordan Binnington, and Carey Price. So I was like, well, do I also need to give up more? He's like, well, like a pick, but nothing significant, but like maybe just a lower end pick.
So you had to give up a pick, right?
Yeah, I had to give him up. So I gave up 2 10s, so our UFA round. So he has value there because people will need a 10th later on. So he can get another pick later on if somebody wants to keep a free agent. And then I got the 2 11s, but he got the 13. So he's going to try and use those 10s later for if somebody needs a UFA to get more picks, and then I got the upgrade in the middle there for the 11, so that I got 2 picks in the same round.
Okay, yeah. I think it's a good trade. I think he's on the better team, Anderson.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes his value higher.
That was my only differential factor.
That's basically why I like the trade.
And to answer your original question, back when we were talking about the big trade, originally I was considering moving Holtby, and I think I even asked you Holtby or Anderson, and that's why I asked, because I was like, Washington's too good. I wouldn't drop Holtby no. I was like, I gotta ride him out. Plus he's a UFA. I don't trust him, but I got it, right? So then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to move Binnington for Anderson because Binnington's on one of the best defensive playing teams. So, like, regardless of the goalie there, the statistics are going to be better than the actual goalie himself. So I was like, Binnington.
Unless you're Jake Allen, his statistics are
but I mean,
I'm just playing.
Binnington or Freddie, like, I'd take Freddie any day as a goalie, but in their state with their team, I would take Binnington. So then I was like, you know what? I didn't even think about Price. Like, I didn't even think about moving him. And then we did the trade, and that was November 20th.
Okay.
And a couple days passed, and then I was like, am I overlooking something? I feel like I'm not really evaluating this. So I went back and I looked at the statistics way closer. And then when I was looking at it, I was like, if I'm looking at upgrading my team, who do I think, if we go back to my Apex conversation earlier, who has a better Apex possibility between Price and Freddie? Definitely. And I was like, it's Freddie. It's hands down, it's Freddie. And I was like, I circled back and I said, all right, Dylan, like, I think I want to offer you Price for Anderson. I know you want to pick because, like, you're not just going to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. You need some sort of incentive. I'm not giving you a lot because I don't think that there's a big difference between the two. What's the pick going to be? And then he's like, he asked for a higher pick. And I'm like, well, I don't have that. I think he asked for an 8th. And I was like, I don't have an 8th. He's like, okay, then I want 2 picks. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to give you, like, I had strategically made my pick, so I had 2 in each round. So, like, yeah, I don't have one in some rounds, but at least I can kind of go bang, bang and get guys that I want. Yeah, so, like, I've been trying to cluster all my picks for that kind of strategy. So I just told him, I was like, I've been working so hard to do this. I don't really want to just throw it all out just for slightly tinkering on goalies. So I'm like, if we're going to do it, I know you're losing on the 13th, but in the middle, I'll take the other picks, and we'll call it a win-win if you're on board. And I think he had already talked to Nick about Freddie.
He must have,
I know he did. But
about Freddie.
About Freddie. So I'm assuming that when the trade happened, he said, "Oh, are you keeping Price?" And then it proceeded from there. Because I know Nick was trying to move Murray as well. So
that surprised me, to be honest.
It makes sense. Yeah, I don't know if that was a good decision, unless he intends on keeping Price.
But, I was a little shocked to see him immediately go after Price. But going to that trade, like, Price goes to Dylan, and then Dylan immediately moves him with Rantanen and Pacioretty, who he picked up patches from you already. So basically, he's the middleman between you and Nick.
And he moved up substantially.
Yeah, I don't, like, does Nick have any draft picks next year? Like, what?
He does. Like, I was looking at the draft picks, and I was like, how is he still in a respectable condition? Like, I'm looking at it right now.
Well, he traded Captain Clutch's picks, really, it looks like.
Yeah. But so he's got no picks in the first.
Yeah.
He's got 1 pick in the second round, which he's going to use to keep Tyler Seguin.
Just to quickly interrupt, how do you look at that? Or is that only commission?
Go at the top, go to draft, and then the last one in the drop down draft picks.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then he's got none in the third, and then he's got the 4th rounder, 5th rounder, 6th rounder, 7, 7, 8, nothing in 9, nothing in 10, and then 11. I don't even look at the picks after 10, really. Because I looked at it. in the league between the first pick in the 11th round and the last pick in the 14th, so every pick after the free agent round, there's only 3 guys who are still rostered by their original team.
Wait, say that again?
Sorry, not round 14. So round 11,
Yeah.
round 12, and round 13.
Yeah.
So in those 30 picks, there's only 3 guys on their original teams.
Really?
Yeah. Now, you also have to consider that some of those guys in those trades were taken in those rounds. So there are still, I think it's 7 or 9 guys that are still rostered and have not hit free agency. So a third of the guys taken stay relevant
now
in
that
the league.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I have none of my picks in those spots left.
Yeah. So in round 11, it was Oshie who was on free agency, Gustafsson on free agency, Bufflin, Capo Caco who went on free agency, Willie Nylander was a good pick, Braden Shen was a good pick, Trocheck's still there, Couture was moved, Skinner was moved, Muzzin was dropped, Ricardo Raquel was dropped, Thomas Hertl was dropped, Pierre-Luc Dubois is still there, Hoffman's there, Atkinson was dropped, or you dropped Atkinson, right?
Yeah.
Matthew Barzal was dropped, Victor Arvidsson was dropped, Anze Kopitar was a good pick, Antti Ranta was dropped, Nugent Hopkins was dropped, Pollock was dropped, Hughes was dropped, LeBanc was dropped, Pacioretty was good, Teravainen was good, Markstrom was dropped, Pietrangelo was good, Domi was dropped, Steen was dropped, Wilson was good. So that was those 3 rounds.
A couple of those goods were on my team.
Yeah, there was really only 4 difference-making hits on those. Like, there's still some decent picks, but you got to really make them count, right?
Definitely. Or make a move quick to pick someone up that was missed.
Yeah. And, that's the thing is, in that trade with Pacioretty, if Pacioretty just stops performing, which he might, then, Nick traded for something that has no value, really. I mean, he got Rantanen. That's going to be helpful.
Rantanen, is, obviously the key piece to that trade. I still think that, I don't know. I think Dylan wins that trade.
I think Gallagher for Pacioretty straight up, I think is kind of a wash.
Okay, really?
Kind of. Just because Gallagher shoots so much.
Okay.
Gallagher's shots on goal are elite. I think he's top 10 every year. So if he's got puck luck, just by numbers, he'll get 4 or 5 extra goals.
Okay.
And he hasn't been playing on the top power play, which to me is really weird. So his performance, which is still top 100, is 110. He only has on the scroll. So in the last 12 games, he has 1 power play point, which is not really fair for his contribution, I don't think. How can a guy have top 10 shots on goal and he's not on your power play? Don't you want shots on goal on your power play, or put him in front of the net? He did so well for a couple of years there. I don't really understand why he's not there. So if he got more power play time, I would consider Pacioretty and Gallagher somewhat of a wash.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Dylan needed Letang's in the trade. He didn't really need a defenseman, so I was a little. That seems.
I think
weird.
He's going to flip him.
Well, here's the thing. I was talking mad deals with him about defensemen.
Were you?
Yes. His ask was way too high. So I told him who I was interested in. I told Hamilton and Makar. So he sends me a proposal, and it has Seth Jones in it, and I'm just for the 4th round and all this shit. I'm just fuck this, and I just stopped negotiating after that. I just didn't even.
Yeah.
So and then I got Tyson Barrie. To me, he has high upside now.
Yeah.
Potentially on the power play 1.
Yeah. No hits, but
I have.
If you're not targeting it doesn't matter.
I have forwards that get hits, and my other defensemen get a lot of hits. I think Edler got 9 hits tonight, or something ridiculous, or maybe it was 9 blocks, which doesn't matter. But he got a lot of hits tonight. Either way, I have Tom Wilson who can get me fucking huge hits on a night. So Hits is a category I normally win anyway.
Yeah. But would you take Murray or Price?
I think that's close. I don't
Yeah.
think it's worth giving up the draft picks Nick did for the difference.
I don't either.
But obviously he's paying those draft picks to get Rantanen.
But that's what that's where I'm kind of breaking it down to be. So if I'm saying I think Gallagher and Pacioretty are somewhat of a wash, and you're thinking Murray and Price are somewhat of a wash, then basically this trade is Letang a 4th and 7th for Rantanen a 12th and 13th.
So if that's the
big
case,
price.
That's pretty fair for I think that's a pretty good deal to get Rantanen, assuming he comes back to what he was doing with McKinnon before, last year and today.
What I brought up last episode about having stacking guys. So Nick's been able to basically cancel out McKinnon, assuming he comes back and plays on a line with McKinnon,
which he will.
Every point he probably will. Yeah. So he could play on a line with Kadri. Kadri, Burakovsky, and him would be solid.
Hasn't Kadri been a little bit on the wing too for them?
Yeah.
With these injuries, I don't know. I think now when we break it down that way with the washes, it seems not as obvious that Dylan won. Like I said at the beginning, it might be a little bit closer. Might even say Nick got a good deal here.
I still think Dylan won, but I don't think it was a big win. I think he won big for what he wanted. And what he was trying to do, but I don't think that it was very far off what was required.
Dylan's going to be a powerhouse next year, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
If he wins McDavid. The McDavid sweepstakes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I got a proposal in my other pool today, and it was absolutely horrible. And I just want to bring it up and get your take. So I was offered Travis Konechny, Phil Kessel, and Thomas Greiss.
Those sound like all waiver people.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know how deep your league is, but
12 teams, 15 rounds or 15 roster spots. So one roster spot deeper than our pool with 2 extra managers.
Okay, so it's those could be rosterable people then. But anyway,
the bar in our league's a little higher than there, but not very much, right? Yeah. But yes, they're still free agent level guys. But they wanted Mike Hoffman and Pekka Rinne.
For those 3? No draft picks?
No picks.
Pekka Rinne. They want Rinne?
They want to take Rinne and Hoffman off me. And they want to give me Konechny, Kessel, and Greiss for it.
I just don't think there's any value in Konechny.
Or Greiss, or Kessel. Here's the other thing. I'm in first place in that league.
Yeah.
My last pick was in the 9th round last year. So my first drops are Dumba and OEL. Mm-hmm. So those guys are better than anything I'm getting there.
Yep, definitely are.
Plus, it's this guy's in 4th place, so he's trying to chase me. And it's don't worry, try and take advantage of the guy ahead of you. Don't worry.
I wouldn't. Hoffman's too solid to just give up, and that Rinne too.
Yeah,
he should bounce back.
But yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was way off balance. Let's go to the next trade. Wheeler on a 14th for Dumba and a 4th. And then Dumba was dropped the next day. So it was Wheeler and a 14th for a 4th.
So who got 2 goals? This is... Okay, the thing that was weird about this for me is that it's 2 people in the bottom 4.
Yeah. It's because 2 goalies, 1 starter doesn't want to be in the basement, he said.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm not managing, so I don't care. I texted him, and I asked him about... Who did I ask him about? Oh, I said to him, I was like, what's your plan with Tarasenko? He's like, I don't know. I was like, are you keeping him? He's like, I'm not sure. I was like, I'll literally give you a 13th rounder for him just to stash him, just in case he comes back for playoffs. I'm going all in. I might as well stash somebody on the IR that might come back. If you're not keeping him anyways, he has no value to you. So I'll give you a 13th for a 14th or something low for him. So then he is like, okay, whatever. And he's like, oh, do you want Hedman? I was like, not really, whatever. And I asked him, I said, okay, well, at the deadline, if you're still in the bottom, I may come after you for Bobrovsky if he's playing well because I don't know what my goalie situation is. He's like, oh, don't worry, I don't want to be there because I don't want to be in the basement. I was like, what do you mean? Like, your team sucks. Like, you might as well just go for it. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want to be in the basement. Like, I don't want to be stuck down there. I was like, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't want to be down there. I was like, okay.
So he'd rather just be a middling team his whole career?
I don't care. I'm not managing that team. I either want to be rebuilding so I can win more money or have a better chance to win money later, or I want to be going for it now where I can chance to win money now.
I want to be able to win every year, so that's not
that's not logical. That's not feasible. It's not realistic.
Watch it happen, dude. I'm gonna outmanage the fuck out of all of y'all. You heard it here first. You're gonna all get outmanaged, outdrafted.
You have to do that once before you do it consecutively.
Hey, my team's strong enough to beat any team.
Yeah, if they don't dress their lineups. So we have one other trade to cover.
Last trade, yeah. It just happened today.
Markstrom for Smith.
Markstrom for
swapping sixth. I don't know.
So this is, to me, this is dumb. Rundles, I don't know why he gave up Markstrom for Smith.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. He got nothing for it. Markstrom's better than Smith.
Yeah.
He plays more games than Smith. Don't really get that. I don't know if they have some sort of relationship where they want to butt buddy each other.
I don't know. They are buddies, but I don't know. I mean, Beer Buds was like, he texted me at 6 being like, yo, accept the trade. I want to start tonight. I was like, all right, cool. I don't care. I'll accept it. Like, whatever. Yeah. So I accepted it, and then he gets shelled, and now he's out.
No, he didn't get shelled. He didn't play.
Oh, okay. He's got an O beside his name. I'm trying to open up the little thing to read the details.
Yeah. So we're
it's
not
loading.
So I don't know if you know the story with Markstrom so far this year. He's had a lot of off ice stuff going on, so he's missed a few starts. His dad was sick, and then his dad passed away a couple weeks ago. Really? Yeah, so he missed a couple games a couple weeks ago. And then they're thinking he's just an emotional wreck right now, and that's why he missed today. So he wasn't in net today. It was Demko. So he luckily didn't get shelled. But yeah, so I guess that could be a question mark. He could be kind of risky because some players, like, they step up when they have these off ice deaths or something. They step up their game. They're playing the whole season on another level. It appears like he's taking it very hard. There's a lot of talk around here about how he's just emotionally wrecked. So who knows? Like, he could unravel.
I couldn't imagine.
I can't.
Because, like, you don't know, right? Like, if his dad took him to the rink growing up every day, if his dad is the guy he calls after every game.
Yeah, he was. He was the guy that he called after every game.
Yeah, so, like, to me, I could see easily why you almost wouldn't even want to play for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Until you kind of, like, I don't want to say get over it because that's insensitive to say that, but you know what I mean. Until you're able to move on to the next stage
enough time passes.
Yeah, next stage of grieving or whatever.
Yeah. So that's the story with him. I don't know. Like that, I still don't think the trade makes a lot of sense. Reynolds Puckets. I think Reynolds Puckets is the guy that keeps trying to dish Kopitar to me.
Really?
Is he the one with Kopitar? Someone keeps trying to get Kopitar to me.
Really? He's trying to trade him to you?
Yeah, he wanted it. Well, at the beginning of the year, he was trying to trade him for Shen, and then lately he's been trying to trade. He's trying to get Gensel from me.
Oh, okay.
So he was offering me some high picks plus Kopitar for Gensel.
Yeah,
but I'm not ready to pack it in just yet.
Yeah. Well, when you are, let me know because I'll come for Kane.
Patty Kane. He's not even he's probably my best winger. I have a lot of good wing forwards, man.
Well, I only like Kane because I know he's going to shoot. Like for me, the way that I look at it is out of my forward group, the most logical guy to try and upgrade is Mantha.
Yeah.
But Mantha also plays for Detroit, who sucks. So, like, he gets almost shoved down the throat of the Red Wings. And, like, I don't know what forwards out there are better than Mantha in my position. So, like, I'm literally looking at Patty Kane and Nikita Kucherov. Those are, like, the two guys in my crosshairs.
Makes sense.
And, like, I would go Mantha plus picks, where it would be like, hey, you're getting Mantha, who is a lesser name but can still help you.
See, if the problem with me moving, I can't. Like, it's hard for me to move Kane because no matter where I finish, I kind of need Kane.
Yeah.
So,
but if an unsexy Kane in Mantha could help you with that, and like who knows? I mean, in the playoffs, right. Mantha could actually be a more productive player than Patrick Kane.
No, you're right.
Unlikely, but he could be.
Could be, yeah.
So I'm just not super eager, I guess is my point. I'm not like going out there being like, I'm going to give you everything for everyone, but I would make an offer where it would be like, this is kind of my win-win territory.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't blame you or whatever for saying no, but I mean, if you're in a standpoint being like, it's my first rounder, I can't keep him anyways, I'll take a chance that I'll take these picks now and take the chance, then it might be worth it, right?
Yeah, see, I'm trying to figure out. I've been doing a lot of thinking on who my keepers are going to be. As someone that has done the keeper league before and been through it, how do you figure out how you want to keep someone? Obviously, you want to keep people
value.
Is it just straight value? Like, because I have a lot of low picks that are huge value right now.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, for me specifically, I'm going with a blend of two strategies this year. Mm-hmm. I'm going with two guys who are undervalued in Malkin and Draisaitl as third rounders.
Makes sense.
So, like, to me, they are probably second rounders.
Yeah, I have the same view with Jack Eichel.
What was he, third round?
Yeah.
He's my slam I probably would keep him.
Yeah, he's my slam
I'd probably keep him.
Yeah.
Where is your team? Okay, here's your team. I mean, if you're hot on Gensel, maybe, but I think that's a little high for him.
I think he drafted right where he should be.
If I was you managing your team right now and I had to pick my keepers, I'd pick Eichel in the third round.
Yeah.
I would pick Shen in the 11th round, and that's it. I'd only go with two keepers.
Really?
If you made the decision to sell off, and you sold off Kane and you sold off these other guys, and you didn't get a good offer on Stamkos, but you had multiple picks at the top of the draft, maybe I would also keep Stamkos. But my philosophy with the top picks is that unless the value is off, like, so for example, in my other keepers, I probably should be top two, which means I have McDavid and I have Burns. So McDavid, if I finish top two, I will be drafting 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So whoever would be able to draft McDavid 11 or 12? No one, right? So yeah, it sucks I don't have multiple first, but I'm okay keeping him as a first because I'm getting him under value at the late end of that round. So I'm okay keeping him. But if I was at the bottom of the draft, and I said this to Nick, and it's a specific strategy I'm going to go by in this pool, assuming I am in the pool for that long, what I'm going to do is basically, so I got McDavid this year. I'm going to go for it this year. I'm going to go for it next year. And then I'm going to rebuild in year 3. Then I'm going to suck out, and I'm not going to protect McDavid so that I win McDavid again, and now I can keep him again for 3 years. So, like, if I'm lower in the draft, I'm less inclined to keep higher keepers because I want to use those picks for the guys that I know are going to have their good season in that upcoming season. And then I want to try and keep lower end guys that are sneaky guys at the end of the draft that are performing above their weight so that you can kind of hide them through that year of keeper to add to your good draft and then combine them as a better team.
Okay.
But yeah, it depends on your strategy. Things could change, but yeah, if I had to pick your keepers right now, I think that you would be best. Yeah, I think you'd have a stronger draft being able to come back and pick 2 new names of guys like for you, you'd probably be getting those names somewhere between the 3rd and the 7th, or 3rd and 4th and the 8th round. So like the guys that you might have on your mock draft this past year versus next year versus the next year after in that range are going to be way different, right? Based on whether you've been traded, now you're playing with, a lot of people. This is maybe not the best example, but Galchenyuk. Everyone's like, I thought Galchenyuk was going to have a hell of a year because he's like, oh, you're playing with Malkin compared to these other guys you've played with. So things like that could sway those guys to go up and down. So I think that has to be weighed as well, as being able to be like, okay, if other people keep their 2nd, their 4th, their 7th, and their 9th, and you're keeping your 3rd and your 11th, you're having 3 more picks in the top 4 round than anyone else, right? They're already committing to their keeper, so like they're banking that those guys are those guys, right?
They're banking that the 3rd is as good as the 3rd again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes, like Carlson, I took in the 2nd round. I don't think Carlson will ever be taken as high as a 2nd rounder again. Like, no. I think he's maybe a low 2nd rounder, but 3rd round, 4th round probably here on out. So, like, I wouldn't even consider keeping Carlson. But you bet your ass I'll be asking around the league once the season's done if anyone else likes him. Because if somebody else says, yeah, I'd love to keep him as a 2nd rounder, then I'll be like, great, give me like a 7th rounder or something. He's all yours.
Wow, okay.
And then I can get assets after the season. So that's what I'm trying to like get people to think of too, is that like there'll be different points even afterwards where you can even talk trades. Like, for example, like you could be in a powerful position where you could at the end of the season say Stamkos, like you don't have to tell anybody that maybe you don't want to actually keep him, but like you just be like, hey, you know what? Anyone interested in Stamkos as a 2nd rounder? It's pretty good value, and see if, because maybe whoever wins it and picks 20th overall might say, you know what, 20th overall for Stamkos
is pretty solid, yeah.
Yeah, so that guy, whoever it is, might say to you, like, look, I'll give you these picks where you're like, I wasn't even going to keep him, so he's worth nothing to me. Yeah, so like there's always periods for stuff like that, right? So there's always stuff to keep in mind. And what I told Dylan today, too, is that like in the other pool, all I was concentrated at was pulling all my draft picks up. So I pulled them all up, so my last pick was in the 9th round. Yeah. And Nick went for it, so all his picks were after the 9th round. So my drop guys, most of my drop guys, my first drop guys in Dumba and Ekman Larson,
Nick instantly
are better than 3/4 of his team by far. So like I'm stuck here, and we get 5 ads a week. I think I've used like 4 in the entire season because I only can add a guy when somebody goes on IR, right? If they whatever IR plus. So it's like, oh, he's sick for a week. I get to add a couple of guys, and then he comes back full-time on my roster.
You better win that league.
That's the thing, right? So now it's so stagnant for me because I have zero flexibility. I've made my bed. I've made my bets on my guys.
Yeah.
I've tried to sell them off for like a 13th, like something just cheap, just to a bottom feeder, just so that I don't waive them, and then the teams I'm competing with get them. So at least I can stash them on some other roster. Can't even do that. So I'm kind of just stuck laying in my bed. So I was like, I think that you should always have one pick that it's at the end of the draft that you can take a lotto pick and you can add and drop or whatever. You should always keep 1 or 2 picks that you don't pull up, that you can either take a goalie late that can come in and you can keep him like beyond, like what I did. For example, last year I drafted Carter Hart with my last pick.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, who's this guy? I was like, don't worry about it.
And now he's fallen.
Well, because I drafted him in the 16th round, he went in like the 7th round in most pools. So because I took him as my last pick, you can keep him in the 16th round. So his value is, instead of somebody taking a chance on him in the 7th round, you can keep him in the 16th round. So for me, It's a lotto ticket, right? So I went and still drafted 2 goalies in like the 5th and 6th round and just took him as my 3rd goalie. I ended up trading him, whatever. But
you traded Hart?
I did. Yeah, I got Bishop. I traded him for picks for Bishop. So it worked out for me in the long run. But now Nick has Nick's in the other pool with me as well. So now Nick has Hart. So Nick has Hart as a 16th rounder. So next year and the year after, if Hart continues to get better and he's a 6th rounder and a 5th rounder, yet he's still in the 16th round, that's huge for him. Plus he has Weber in the 15th. So he could have Weber and Hart as 2 kind of key pieces as his 2 last picks in the draft.
Cool.
So like so many things to think of, right?
So much. It's so cool. Keeper leagues, now that I've played one, is so much better than the regular shit.
Yeah. And I like it just because like there will be seasons where like in my other pool, my 3rd pool that I don't really talk about, it's just for free. I had Landeskog and Tarasenko go down. So like
you're adding players.
I went with the strategy of trying to get goalies late and it just didn't work for me. So, like, I got hit with injuries hard, and I don't have goaltending, and it's just kind of like I'm locked in 5th. I know I'm making the playoffs, but, like, no one wants to trade. There's no picks where I can, like, try to, like, make myself better. Yeah. I can't build towards next year. So it's just like, well, roll the dice. Let's see what happens here. And it's, I don't know, it's just kind of...
There'll be a trade coming out of me soon. I don't know what it's going to be, but...
Yeah. Just don't trade Kane without letting me know. Or Stamkos. I want to know the 2 of their prices.
Their prices are high. First rounders.
I know. Well, I mean, just so you are aware what the best offer I could possibly make, I wouldn't make this offer, but just so you know, it would be Mantha plus a 2nd and a 5th. That's the best I can offer for anybody. So, I mean, you'd get something that can help you.
Out of those 3 things, you'd probably want 2 players.
What's that?
If you're looking at the long run, if you're giving up those things, you're wanting 2 players, I think.
I only have 1 roster spot. That's what I mean. Like, if I wanted Kucherov or if I wanted Patrick Kane, I would think that Mantha, a 2nd and a 6th, could probably at least get the conversation started if you want to make that move. But I think I'd want to try and drop the picks a little bit. That's a little rich. But you know what I mean. That's also a last-minute thing.
You gave up more for freaking Marchand.
I know, but now I don't have picks to give you. I can't give you picks I don't have.
Fair enough.
I'm just saying, like, if you make your decision at the deadline and no one comes talking and you're like, you have literally my offer or no offer.
Yeah.
It might be worth it for you to take my offer.
Fair. I might give it to Rundles.
Yeah.
Or Beer Buds.
Add a third name into the party.
Give Beer Buds some rope. Hey, Beer Buds. I don't even know where I can improve my team right now, to be honest. Other than just improving draft picks.
You need a better goalie.
Dude, my goalies are balling.
Carter Hart? Oh, I guess he has heated up a little bit, eh? Other than that one.
Oh, no, he's a stream goalie.
His last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games have been really good. He gave up 5 in 1 game, which wasn't very good against Florida. But other than that, it was all of them are 1 point something goals against, and they're all 920, 930 good save percentage. It's pretty solid.
Keep underestimating Kemper, man. Keep doing it.
I will.
He's ranked 14th for a reason.
I know, but he has 0 wins in his last 3 starts, and he only has 2 in his last 7. So, yeah.
True that.
But looking at your team, you have a bunch of solid pieces, but it's just
I can get a winger, but that's what stands.
You'd almost have to like bump them up a little bit. Like you'd almost have to like do like a pick and Aho for like going from 58th best forward to like a 38th best forward, or like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like just bumping up some guys, like moving Edler from 96 to some defenseman in like the 60s or something, or like your team's pretty solid. Like you don't have any obvious like holes or drops.
That's what I mean, man. I can upset anybody and come playoff time.
You never know, right?
Watch
And
out.
I fully expect to be disappointed because it's just that's the way it works for me in fantasy.
Okay.
But
good.
I can't say that I didn't make a couple good trades and go for it.
True that.
I also made a good call getting a shutout tonight by Freddie.
Hell yeah.
I actually made the perfect call tonight because I had Holtby, Anderson, and Binnington going. All three got a win, but I dressed the two best statistical starts.
Nice work.
Which two would you have picked? Holtby versus Florida, Freddie versus Detroit, or Binnington versus Tampa?
Probably Bennington and Freddie.
Yeah, I picked Holtby and Freddie. Binnington had the worst night out of the three.
Actually, probably. No, I think about it. Well, yeah, I would have went with that probably.
I just didn't like
good names.
Yeah, but Binnington at Tampa kind of scared me a little bit. That's why.
Fair enough, yeah.
I stayed away from that. Just because you never know. Tampa could put 7 up quick.
Stamkos is out, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yo, I've been killing it on my ad. I picked up Victor Olofsson the other day.
Yeah, I saw.
And he has 3 goals, 5 points, 2 power play points.
Since you picked him up?
13 shots on goal in the 4 games that I picked him up on.
1 power play point? Don't lie to me. Just fucking...
2.
I only see 1, but okay. Unless today was a power play point.
Oh, sorry, yeah, 1. My bad. Dyslexia.
It's okay.
Just waiting for Mantha to return. Although I did consider a strategy of moving Carlson.
I think defense and, Dylan wanted me to sell a farm for a defenseman from him. It made no sense. I think there's a lot of defensemen.
You want Carlson?
No. Have you ever gave thought to how we're going to do an expansion draft?
Yes. Why? Do you have people interested in joining?
Possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? What's your curiosity about it?
I just figured if there was an expansion plan.
I wouldn't go as far to say a plan. But there are some rough ideas. It would be a situation where we would announce before the start of the season before.
Yeah.
So, for example, I wouldn't be like, "Okay, we're expanding this summer."
Next
it
year,
would be like,
That's
after
I
next
figured
season.
that would be the way, yeah.
Yeah, and then that way everyone knows. Everyone has 1 year to readjust their picks accordingly. There'll be more. Thought that will have to go into keepers because everybody will be extended in 2 picks, right?
Yeah.
So person taken 12th is now in round 1 instead of 2, and so on. I don't think a whole lot would have to be changed in terms of the categories or roster positions.
Nope.
Maybe if we do decide to expand the rosters by 1 or 2 this season, if in a couple seasons we expand, maybe we would take those off again and go back to the current setup if we do make those changes. I don't really want to change it too much, but
I think the only change that really makes sense is possibly adding another defense. But at the same time, if we do that, it does increase the value of certain keepers too. It does kind of change how people... So that's
and a lot of people have been giving me feedback of putting blocks on, but I'm a little hesitant to do that.
I hate that category.
I know it is just a strictly defense category, which I understand, but I don't like the fact
that wants it on. Is it Nick? Because he always mopped me with blocks.
No,
that's always
he did say that if we wanted to increase value of defensemen, that's probably his best input on how to do it, which is true.
It's true, yeah.
But I just don't. I don't know.
I think the number of categories is pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. If we added, I'm pretty confident I'm going to add a defense spot.
Mm-hmm.
I considered also adding a wing spot or another utility spot. Just because if you look at free agency, pretty much 90% of the first 2 pages are wings and D.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows that if you added those into roster spots, it would bring it more in line with the goaltenders and the centers, which would just kind of make things more in line across the whole board. So that was just something I thought of.
Makes sense.
But yeah, in terms of expansion, there probably would be some sort of limitation of, okay, for this year, you can only keep 3 people instead of 4 people. But again, all these rules would be set up before a whole season. So, like, you can make a decision and make trades accordingly.
Why 4? What keepers did you come to that? Why not more?
I took a lot of it just off of so the pool I am in for the keepers, they generated that off of a lot of stuff that they have done for a keepers football league for a bunch of years. From my understanding, like 7 or 8 or 9 years. Like, it's a long-term thing they've been doing. So, like, they kind of started from scratch and built up some, like, basic guidelines and then moved that from football and translated that kind of to hockey. And then I've kind of just taken a lot of the stuff that I liked or that I saw that kind of worked and just kind of ran with it. So a lot of it I didn't really make myself. I just kind of took off the other league, and then what I didn't like about it, I kind of edited it from there. So
cool.
Yeah. So in the future, I'm open to it. I know another guy who does a dynasty league, and like his is so crazy that they actually have farm teams. So, like, for example, like he'll have like 3 fantasy teams, and he can like interchange the players in between them. And like they redraft, and like they keep their entire team. So like all the trades are like to get guys that other guys are trying to keep, like a real general manager or whatever.
Yeah.
So like their whole teams are, and like their drafts for like the new kids, like for Hughes and Kako and whatever this past year, they do that each year, and then those guys go to the farm team. So that allows them to kind of keep ownership of them, but not actually dress them and have to use them as like a rostered guy.
Okay.
So like they can wait like a year or 2 years or whatever, and then they can call them up. So like they're basically on free agency, not getting any points, but they're owned by you, so no one else can like pick them up and dress them.
Okay.
So like it's a lot. I don't think I would want to do that.
That seems like a lot of work, but to run, but it'd be pretty fun.
It would be fun to do like a full dynasty league, but I feel like it would also kind of suck when like you don't get the right like draft slot, and then you're like, fuck, like if you got 6 again.
It could be the New Jersey Devils of the dynasty league.
Yeah, exactly. I would probably, I don't even know what I'd do, but I like how you can kind of just pick a couple of guys. I like how it expires after a couple of years, so like you can't just get the guy and run with it. So it also makes you be smart to be like, hey, you know what, this isn't my year, I'm gonna retool or whatever.
Yeah,
like year 1 will be the only year where everything's kind of a level playing field
per se. I don't because I was 6th pick, I don't think it's level, but
well, it depends, because some managers, like for example, if you say, you know what, I'd rather have Patty Kane and I'd rather not make any trades, and you make no trades, arguably one could say that that's a poorer strategy than just taking the picks, because like some people will say, you know what, the difference of taking 1st overall or 3rd overall doesn't really matter, but having those picks in hand is more important. Where last year,
if you suck at drafting.
Well, yeah, but last year people tried to employ that strategy against me and tried to get Bobrovsky off of me, and I was like, hey, if he's been ass all year, then it's meant to be, and I'm going to suck. But if I can't get something for him, then I'm going to keep him and hope he gets hot in the playoffs, because he has the capability to do so. And he did. He won me the championship, because that was the 2 weeks where he gave up like 3 goals over like 7 games.
Yeah.
And he literally like won me
Columbus
the other goalie I didn't even
at
dress.
the end of last season.
Yeah. I didn't even dress my other goalie. He rode the bench for the playoffs, and I just literally put Bobrovsky in, and I won the consolation. I just squeaked by, but the goalie stats were what got me through, right? So like he won the championship for me. So like the guys who were trying to say, you know, like take the picks now, whatever, I probably would have finished 4th or 5th overall in every round, but by keeping him, it was beneficial to me. Mm-hmm. Where Nick was like, Nick told me at the time, he said he wouldn't have done that. He would have gone the other way. And I was like, no.
Yeah, see, the playoff picture for me in our league is too unclear for me to make any crazy decisions right now.
And it's hard, too, with the teams that have made the big deals to, like, make a move in, you know? It's like it's like playing poker when somebody goes all in off of like the first 2 cards and you're like, okay, you have something good or you're really trying to bluff. It's one of the two. Like 50-50 here. It's too strong of a move to not have another message behind it. You know what I mean?
Fuck yeah, Coyotes win. Let's go. There's that win for Kemper. There's that win for Kemper you were calling shit on him for.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, we got to wrap this up. It's like 12:20.
Sounds good, man.
I got to work tomorrow.
I took the next 2 days off, so.
Yeah, I was going to, but I would have had to get it unpaid because I've had days off for the dog or whatever, so.
Yeah.
I would rather
No, fair enough.
get paid for it.
I had a few vacation days left over, so.
Yeah.
All right, until next time.
Of course, man. I will talk to you later.
Yeah, take care, my friend.
See ya.